This is Death or Prison, brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. The men you are about to hear have spent more than 50 years in prison. We bring you stories of hope and encouragement.
Hello and welcome to the Death or Prison podcast, brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. I am Johnny Branham, and to my right, Mr. Elmo Golden, and to my left, our special guest, Richard DeLisi. Now, Richard has an interesting story, and we're going to get into it today. Serving a 32-year sentence, and if I understand it correctly, the longest sentence for a marijuana charge in the entire United States of America.
Yeah, nonviolent.
Nonviolent. Richard, tell us where you're from.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I was raised in a place called Breezy Point, actually Rockaway Point. And I guess my parents, they were Catholics, and I used to go to Catholic church when I was a kid, but I was never really into it until now. When I was in prison, I found God, and God worked in a fantastic way in my life. He opened up all the doors that were closed, and we think about how we feel about stuff, and the situations we put ourselves in. You know, when we're kids growing up, and that's what happened to me. I was illiterate when I was a kid. I couldn't read or write or anything. I taught myself. A guy named Skipper Fimer and some other people in the institution helped me with phonics, and that's how I taught myself how to read and write. And I'm here right now, and I can just give all the thanks to our Lord Jesus Christ and thank Him for the ground that He's blessing. Every day I wake up and I make a step, I feel His presence in my life strongly all the time, and I just hope that I open doors for people that are still in there. There's still 40,600 and something of nonviolent marijuana people still in the institutions across the United States. And I'm reaching out to you men and women, telling you that I'm here for you, and I'm going to keep on being here for you until every last one of yours is out, because we shouldn't even be there, because God put it here for us to heal ourselves and to feel good about ourselves. It's not like it should have never been illegal in this country. It shouldn't have never been illegal anywhere in the world. It isn't like a process thing that we were smuggling, me and my brother, you know? It was something that made people feel good and righteous about themselves. And God knows about that stuff.
Richard, how long have you been home?
I've been home for a little over a month now.
A month, 30 days?
Yes.
I know that's got to be exciting for you.
Well, it's so crazy. I'm staying with my sister and my brother-in-law, you know, and my brother-in-law comes out and he finds me on the porch at 11:30 at night, just sitting out there looking up at the stars and watching the airplanes fly by and everything. He said, "What are you doing out here?" I said, "I'm enjoying my freedom. That's what I'm doing out here."
I know earlier in your childhood you said you was illiterate. What was that like growing up in Brooklyn?
It was real hard, because I knew that I had something up top, but I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, because my mother had me checked out by doctors and stuff, but they didn't know what it was back then. They didn't know about dyslexia and all that stuff. They only knew about, he's retarded. You know, throw him, lock him up, put him away. You know, my mother was listening, and that was one of the main reasons that I got away from the Catholic thing, you know, because the Catholic thing was so strict about certain things, and it was all, if it was okay for them, then it was okay for you. You know what I mean? It was like an off balance thing. You know, I would go to church with my parents, and we'd sit in the audience there when the priest would be talking. He'd be talking in Latin. I mean, I would say to my mother, "What's this guy talking about? You know, how can we learn anything if this guy's talking in Latin?" So that was a great relief for me to find out that there was actually Christian people that actually talked about God that you could actually communicate with them. And it wasn't like they weren't Bible thumpers. They were just Christian people that wanted to talk about God and what God done in their life and how God stopped them from pornography, how God stopped them from being robbers and doing all kinds of crazy things in their life, you know? And I was just blessed by meeting groups like the Kairos and all these other organizations that used to come into the prison. And they didn't have to do it. They just did it because God was guiding them in there. And it was very, very, very enjoyable. And I plan on staying with that for the rest of my life, you know. And I mean, I actually feel guilty sometimes when I wake up and I go get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea before I pray, you know. I actually say to myself, oh, man, I shouldn't even do that. I should thank God for the cup of coffee before I even go get it, you know. But I'm learning to adjust to everything, and it's coming along. As far as my childhood when I was young, I grew up in a place called Rockaway Point, like I said, and there was, you know, we had the regular candy store, and everybody always hung around in the candy stores, if you know anything about people from up north and stuff, you know. And one day, me and my friend, a couple other guys, were standing in front of the candy store, and this 60-something brand new Bonneville pulled in a convertible, and there was this guy, and I seen a couple of the kids, like 6 or 7 kids, run up to the car. I said to my friend Bob, what are them kids doing over there? Oh, he's selling them pot and hash and stuff. I said, yeah? I said, who is this guy coming into our neighborhood, you know, selling stuff to our friends, you know what I mean? Like kids that live in our neighborhood. So we found out where the guy was from, and we found out where his connection was, and we went to his connection, me and my friend. And he wasn't allowed in the parking lot anymore. And that's how I started out. And that was at like 13 years old. And by the time I was 16, I was driving a brand new Vet, had a couple of motorcycles, beautiful apartment. And I felt good about myself. And my life started to change at that time as far as financially, because my mother would always say to me when I was growing up, what are you going to be when you grow up? You know, you're not getting any education, da-da-da-da. I said, Ma, I don't know what's going on with the education thing, but it doesn't work for me. I'm a street guy. And that's what I did. I wound up being a street person. You know, not crazy street person, but just a street person that wanted to be something besides the nothing in the neighborhood, you know what I mean? And I always gave back, no matter what. Whenever I did anything, I always gave back to the neighborhood or to whoever was involved with me. I always made sure that my friends had nice cars to drive and trucks and stuff, because they were like, you know, cops and firemen and stuff in New York. Some of them couldn't afford to do stuff like that. And whenever I could help my friends, I always did. And that's why I'm blessed, I think. I think that's how God blessed me. God's taken care of me all my life, and he's looking out for me now, even stronger than ever in my life, you know?
You mentioned your Catholic upbringing. During the time that you started with the life of marijuana, was there ever any in your conscience about something being wrong or being amiss, or was there any conviction?
No, I knew when I first got my first buzz off of the weed, I knew that that was my purpose. It was strange. And I told my brother, because I had hurt my ankle, right? And I smoked. And I said to my brother, man, my pain went out of my ankle. And my brother said, get out of here, man. I said, I'm telling you, man, I smoked a joint and the pain went out of my ankle, and now I'm okay. You know, that was a big thing for me. You know, that was a real hard thing to get away from after all these years, you know. Because, you know, I mean, I got COPD, so I can't smoke no more or anything, you know. So, but it used to be a great feeling. But it's more or less a thing of the past now, you know what I mean?
So you're 16 years old now. What did you do between that time, 16 to 20 or anything? Were there any arrests during that time?
No, I didn't get arrested at all. You know, I didn't go around causing trouble. You know, wasn't looking for no trouble. I made sure that everything was mellow with everything, you know. like I said, we grew up around, all cops and in my neighborhood, all cops and firemen. And like when the World Trade Center went, I lost 13, 14 of my friends in the 2 buildings that collapsed. And them guys were guys that used to come and sit with us in the visiting park when we got visits. They would come and visit me, these guys, these cops and firemen that I grew up with, carpenters and all kinds of stuff, plumbers and masons. And they all wound up, they were all getting high back then, but they all wound up getting a professional business going. And now they're all, have their own houses and their own businesses, and they're doing quite well, all my friends, the ones that are left.
Was there ever a time when you thought that the things that you were doing would lead to incarceration or lead to any arrest?
I knew when I was doing it, I knew what could happen. I didn't just, and whenever I was getting ready to go do something, I would always sit down with everybody and I'd say, hey, listen, guys, we're going to have the chance to make some money, but we're also going to have the chance to go to prison if someone makes a mistake. So we got to make sure that we do this thing and stay out of trouble doing it and don't get anybody hurt doing it. And that was the main thing. And no one's ever, the worst thing that ever happened was a guy broke his ankle.
Mm-hmm. That's the worst thing. Huh?
That's the worst thing that ever happened to us. And I'm talking about, I landed airplanes with half of wings on them and stuff. There was a lot of crazy stuff that went on.
Richard, you're 16 years old. Tell me what's going on in your life at that time in Rockaway.
Well, you got to remember, the money started coming pretty quick. We were making some money, and we were comfortable with ourselves. Me and a couple of my friends that were doing it back then. My brother wasn't involved back then. I would have caught a beating from him if he would have even knew about it. And it kind of moved along. It got to the point where someone told me that, if I went to Florida, you could hook up with people down in Florida because it was close to South America and Jamaica. My brothers and my father, my whole family were fixing to move to Florida. This is when I was like 16 or 15. And when they finally started moving around, they kept asking me, for help, help us with the trucks and the cars and all, bringing all the furniture and everything back and forth, taking the trucks down and emptying, filling them up and stuff. And I helped them get their business going. But I was watching, when I was down there, I was watching what was going on to see, what I could do with my things that I was doing. My brother finally talked me into moving to Florida. He said, yeah, come to Florida, you'll enjoy it down here, it's good, but I still had my thoughts on what I wanted to do with, and I couldn't tell my brothers or my father what I was doing. I would have caught, forget about it. I couldn't have got away with it. And my mother would have freaked. I met someone down there and they said to me, oh yeah, man, my friend just flew a load and he's got some weed in the warehouse. Are you interested in maybe bringing some to New York? I said, yeah, I would, but I don't have any money to buy it. Because they wanted like a lot of money for trunk loads of weed. So they wound it up handshake, and that's how it really, really begun right there. That one carload that I took, did my thing, came back, 2 carloads, 3 carloads, 4 carloads. Then I was filling 5 cars, me, my brother, my sister, my cousin, my friend. Everybody was transporting at the time, until I made enough money, and I found a plane out in, I think it was Utah or something, someplace out west in the back of an airport, an old DC-3 I found. And, it had flat tires and everything, and it hadn't been ran in a while, and I had them fix it, gas it up and everything. And I wasn't flying back then yet, but I took a ride in this thing. I brought a mechanic and 2 pilots with me, and we took off. And As soon as the thing took off, I sat in the co-pilot seat, and that was my first experience behind an airplane, you know? And it was big. It was a DC-3. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, I know what it is.
You know what they
Yeah.
are? It was like, wow, man, look at the size of this airplane I'm flying. You know, what you got to do is go like this, and the thing's banking over and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So you got to remember, and I'm from New York, you know?
How old were you at this time?
This is in my late teenage, you know, like 17, 18, 19. When I was 21, on my 21st birthday, I was in Jamaica loading a boat. That was my first actual smuggling deal. You know, that was before that DC-3 happened.
Richard, if you can, take us step by step where you're in Florida and you're making these transports.
Well, what happened was I came to Florida and I started working for my dad, right? And my brothers, you know, in the shop. I was like part of the deal with them. They told me I'd be in, you know, as long as I worked there and got everything going. And we were doing working on Volkswagen buses and cars. And I started finding bags of weed and everything, you know, in cars. And so there was this one cat that I started talking to one day, and I smoked with him, and we started hanging out. And he told me, yeah, my friend's got a boat. He wants to go down diving in the islands. I said, so what are you telling me about it for? He said, well, we need someone, a mechanic on it, you know, to take care of it. So I said, well, what kind of pay is? He said, you know, it's probably going to be a couple of months. You can make yourself $5,000. Well, back, you know, in 1970, $5,000 was a lot of money. I said, absolutely, I'll do it. But I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know yet. I thought I could open up a way by going down there diving with these guys, right? But they were going down there to load the boat. And I didn't find out till we were gone for about 3.5 weeks, and we were in a place called Port Antonio, Jamaica. And the captain said, oh, yeah, we're going to go up the coast to La Grille. I said, oh, okay. So we packed up, you know, we're in this great lagoon. It was, you got to remember something. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I never seen anything like this in my life. Crystal clear water, turtles swimming around, you know, fish everywhere, you know, where you could see everything with your eyes right through the water. You know, the only kind of fish we've seen in Coney Island were the white ones. It was crazy. And I was like, wow, man. And the boat stopped. I said to the captain, I said, hey, man, what's going on? He said, hey, man, just sit tight. Go in the cabin and just sit in there and have a cup of coffee or something. All these Jamaicans started coming on the boat with the bales, piling the bales up on the boat. I'm like, whoa. I said, I'm saying to myself, what a score. Now I don't even have to think about it. I can see how everything's going down right now. And that's how it started, believe it or not. It started with that boat. And I'm hoping someday that you can go to the movie theater and see that particular.
Hey, this is a celebration for me just to see you at home.
Yeah.
So now the boat is loaded. You're traveling.
The boat is loaded. And I finally came out of my shell in the boat because first I got uptight, you know, because I didn't know what the heck was going on. But then I got, you know, I mellowed out a little bit. I took care of business, packed everything away. I told them, listen, man, we got to get out of here before any of these, because I knew about the patrol boats going around Jamaica all the time. I said, we got to get out of here before the sun comes up, because if a boat spots us, we're in trouble. So we left, and we ran into a February storm. I don't know if you know what that is, but I'll tell you what, I'm lucky to be here, sitting here looking at you guys, because I'm talking about 35-foot, 40-foot seas. And I'm talking about the boat was disappearing under the water for a minute at a time, to where the inside of the boat was pressurized and the little cracks and crannies in the steel was spraying like water guns.
The waves are crashing. and you almost experience a near-death experience, or what seems like a near-death experience.
Well, what happened was me and my friend were laying in the bunk strapped in, and I heard a noise, and I unhooked my seatbelt because it was that rough, and I put my feet on the floor, and the water was up to my knees. I said, uh-oh, we're going to sink. And that's when it's something how God comes into your mind when you're in trouble. He doesn't come in when everything's smooth and everything's good and, you're making money and everything's good. But I just said, God, man, you got to get me out of this deal. You got to, I don't want to die in the ocean. I prayed for a couple of minutes and it got me through it. And God helped us. I mean, we stayed in the storm for another 30 hours and we finally got somewhere, but he was looking out for us all that time.
You've left Jamaica. You've been through this horrendous ordeal with the waves crashing in and you crying out for God to save you, that you'll never do this again. And now we're at the dock.
We're at the dock and we get rid of all the weed and there's like 500 pounds that's wet. So the guy that was in on the deal originally, the guy that owned the Volkswagen bus that I talked to in the deal in my father's repair shop, I said to him, put that in your van and throw it in the dumpster up at Winn-Dixie. Throw the weed away and go home and just chill. I'll take care of everything else. And what he did was he took the weed and he went to a warehouse and spread the weed out and put lamps on it and heating it up, and the people that were next door in the warehouse were carpenters, and they smelt it and they called the cops, and then the sheriff came in and they arrested everybody. But I was already on my way to California when the bus came down. So they ratted out the whole deal, the two guys that took the van up to throw the stuff away, and I wound up going to 2 federal trials. I went to 1 federal trial. It took about a month to about 2.5, 3 weeks. I was found innocent of all charges. And then they called me back into court, and they wanted me to testify against one of the guys that were on the boat with me, and I wasn't going to testify against him. I said, I don't see the guy in the courtroom. He's not even in here. I don't see him anywhere. And they got me for perjury, and they tried to get me on that. And I went to another whole trial with that, and I beat that.
And even after, okay, now you're out of jail now. When did you get started with your own enterprise?
All right, so that's that. And that's when I started talking to my brother. I said, hey, Ted, let's do something where we can make some real money doing this. And that's what we did. We started playing around with the airplanes. And I started flying. My brother started taking flying lessons because he could read and write. But he wound up crashing an airplane, too. He wound up landing in the schoolyard one day with the airplane that he rented.
And tell me about the first time you guys went up, your first job.
The first time I flew?
No, your first job. Flying with the airplane.
Oh, okay.
Smuggling.
Yeah, you mean smuggling. I went to my brother and I said, hey, Ted, it's 3 weeks with this boat, 4 weeks, a month and a half it takes before we're done. And then we got to get rid of it and everything. I said, we got to find a quicker way of doing this. And we've calculated everything, how long it would take, at what speed and everything to where we wanted to go. But before all that happened, we were in a 7-Eleven one night, me and my brother. And I was in a 7-Eleven, and get this, I couldn't read and write. So here's where God came into my life again, I think. I'm looking at this article of a house, and it says house. I knew how to say how to read house. Colombia, I knew the Colombia because of the Colombian weed we were smoking. I seen the word so many times. So it said, for sale, house in Colombia. So I said to my brother, there's a house for sale in Colombia. Let's buy it. My brother said to me, what are you, crazy? What do you know about Colombia? I said, don't worry about it. We'll go down there and we'll figure out what's what. We wound up buying the house. It was a coffee plantation. I still own it today. We flew down there. We got in touch with the guy in Michigan, and the guy told us, "Oh, no, you'll never find the place. Don't go down there. They'll kill you, blah, blah, blah." I said to my brother, "We're going down there tomorrow." When we went to go there, we needed passports. I didn't know that. So we wound up buying tickets, getting passports on a Saturday. They gave us our passports. We were gone Sunday or Monday morning. We flew to Colombia. And within 2 months, we were loading an airplane in the Guajira Desert.
That sounds like a good place to pause because there is so much more to Richard's story, and we're going to get into it on our next segment. You have been listening to the Death or Prison podcast brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. I am Johnny Branham. You have been listening to Elmo Golden and Richard DeLisi, who's telling us a phenomenal story. You do not want to miss what comes next. And I'm waiting to hear what comes next. This has been the Death or Prison podcast, but we say choose life.
Lean on Me USA, in partnership with Alpha USA, wants to connect you to a welcoming church. To begin a new life, call 314-607-8850.
I can change the world. Feed one, teach one born